Thank you for auditing the always positive new music review show hosted by a French professor who's going to be talking about And Then You Pray For Me by Westside Gunn. This is a tough one to approach. I always say that whenever Griselda drops off, I'll stop reviewing their music. That they keep releasing great projects and I keep reviewing them and I'm always positive and I'm never going to come out here and just, say something is bad. And I'm not going to say that something is bad. I think this is actually probably a great album. But that said, there's a lot of criticism about it, and I want to talk about the criticism. I want to validate the criticism while also sort of contradicting it with my own opinion. Now, initially, my take on this album was I was going to just sort of compare it to the Drake album. The super long title, For All My Dogs, and Then You Pray For Me. Sort of like that feeling of inevitability. They both come out with albums so frequently, a lot of the same kind of feelings. For Drake, I compared his music to Madden 24, and just sort of like another installment of the Drake series, much like every Madden is a new edition of the Drake, of the new Madden series. This is kind of Westside Gunn 24. Much like Drake, it's a little too long, it's got a lot of guests, it's a very popular rapper who is not really known for bars, but really known for the kind of the whole package. Much like Drake, Westside Gunn is highly sensitive. He does not really accept any criticism whatsoever. Except the difference is, I think the criticism that Westside Gunn is getting for this album is because he isn't doing that. He isn't just releasing the same thing over and over again. This is actually an unexpected album. Partly because it goes into sonic territories he is not traditionally associated with, primarily trap, but also just the whole thing feels, as someone who's been really into the whole Griselda crew for at least the last couple of years, it feels different, and I think that difference is necessary. And I think a lot of the anger that is directed towards it is anger from people who want it to feel more the same. Now, when I've talked about Westside Gunn in the past, I've had a couple different names. I've called him Buff Ye, because I think he's sort of another version of Kanye, the fashion stuff and the vision, and not necessarily being the most talented at any one thing, but being talented at so many things that he's able to really sort of shift the zeitgeist. And I do think that of all the figures in rap, I would say Travis Scott and Westside Gunn are the closest to imitating what Kanye can do. And then I also would call him Buff Daddy, in reference to Buffalo. That's where the buff comes from. Where it's not so much that he is a producer, but that he is a producer finder. He is a person finder. He is a coordinator. He is somebody who exists behind the scenes. And when he isn't behind the scenes, when he's in front of the microphone, he might seem corny or he might seem not as good as the people that he finds. And in general, what I really want to do is just emphasize that we are all just big babies, okay? Spoiled brats. And I've said this before about Griselda. Of course there's things to complain about with this album. But what more does somebody have to give us before we just go, yeah, I didn't like every track on that album, but whatever. How many great meals can a chef serve you before you say, this is a great chef? In one of the comments, somewhere in Westside Gunn's Instagram, if you ever want to follow the Instagram of just somebody who's always angry at all criticism, it's a good place to find. But what he wrote as a caption was less hate, more art. And I am going to give Westside Gunn 100% of the credit. That is absolutely what he is doing. He is spreading art. Now, of course, he's still largely rapping about brands and rapping about being hated and money and the bricks and the blocks and the stove and the crack and all that. But still, fundamentally, what he's doing and the way that he is like Kanye is that he is treating rap music and hip-hop culture as the high art that it always is. The fact that he is treating it that way doesn't mean it's more that way. It's not like EPMD wasn't making art, but they didn't talk about themselves as making art. That's one thing that Westside Gunn does that's very similar to Ye, is that understanding. But hey, less hate, more art. Before we get to that, let's talk about hate. I want to read a comment from the Griselda subreddit. That's how internet I'm getting right here. And this is sort of a distillation of a lot of the angry comments. It's from someone named Ether93. Very, very fine post. I said on Reddit that I was going to be quoting it. No anger there, but I can edit out their name if they wish. But this is what it says in all caps. The entire thing, all caps. IDK who told Gunn he can rap on trap beats, but he cannot. And then you pray for me? Nah, son, he should have prayed for us having to listen to this trash. He gets a RZA beat and chooses what sounds like a Bobby Digital throwaway? I was this close to deleting his whole catalog after hearing his slow-ass flow on all his trap songs! Exclamation point. Album should have been named Kim Kardashian because it was mostly all ass. Pretty funny. Downvote me, idgaff. This was supposed to be AOTY after that letdown of a Drake album as well. IDK who let him put this ish out, but clearly they're effing deaf. Miguel the Plug should be given jail time for even making these horrendous ass beats. 5 years added to his sentence for every track he produced. Kitchen Lights is the song of the year though. Don't even get me started on J.R. Swifts and Beat Butcher. These dudes are so generic. It's the same boom-bap drums sprinkled with some little bells here and there. If you don't believe me, look up their production credits and get back to me. I should have known by his hairstyle looking rough and some of the Snap God video beats sounding awful that the aura of this album was going to be off. But anyways, what an awful album, my God, rant over. This was echoed by many people in that comment section saying how they canceled the vinyl. Which is, I tried to get the vinyl. It was all, I couldn't, I was on the waiting list and I couldn't get through. So if anyone wants to sell me, and please play to me, whatever, the new Westside Gunn, I'd love to buy it. A lot of people saying there's too many yes men around Westside Gunn, which may be true, maybe his insecurity. But I think if we actually take all of these comments, it's not that what he's saying is wrong. It's that it's coming from what I would call an ungenerous perspective. That we're not really crediting somebody who has been a great artist, who has curated. I mean, truly, if we are living in the world today, we are saying the slang that the West Side says. You know what I'm saying? We are sort of living in his, and I know there's also Rock Marciano and MF Doom, and I know, and Jay Dilla. I'm not saying he's the only person in the underground rap space. But for a lot of it, he is so responsible, not for its creation, but for its distribution, for its curation. So, anyways, can he rap on beats? He cannot. Can he rap on trap beats? That's the big question. I'll be answering that as we go along. Short answer, no. Long answer, yes. Is the RZA beat trash? No. The RZA beat's great. And then the whole thing is whether or not the boom-bap beats are just generic. And this goes to the heart of it, right? If Westside Gunn releases just a Westside Gunn album, if he releases Hitler Wears Hermes 78, if he releases Now That's What I Call Hitler Wears Hermes, okay? If he releases that, we hear it, we like it, boom-bap, conductor, Daniel LaFleur, Camouflage Monk, Derringer, Beat Butcher, same thing. It's not that it's ever bad, but it can be similar. So here, Westside Gunn is getting it from both sides. And again, I'm not trashing on this person who left this comment. It's well written, it's funny, it's concise. There's nothing wrong with this comment. It's actually great. It's an excellent example of a Reddit comment. It's fair, right? I don't agree with it, but it's fair. But it's how is he going to win? He's trying to rap on trap beats, which is something kind of new, and that's trash. And then he's doing boom bap stuff, and then that's trash. So it's why do we like Westside Gunn at all if we don't like it when he does the same thing, or if we don't like it when he does something different? Which, to be fair, is the same question for Drake. He does Honestly Nevermind, and no one likes it because it's something new. And then he does For All the Dogs, and no one likes it because it's the same thing as always. We're fickle. We are fickle. As fans, we are fickle, and we are spoiled. So, but it is possible. I understand this criticism, and I don't think it is invalid. But I don't agree with it. I think this is a surprisingly avant-garde album because so many of the beats sound like fairly standard trap, because he's trying to switch up his flow, because it doesn't sound just like Hitler Wears Hermes, because it doesn't sound the same as everything else. I think we need to give him credit. Now I do want to, sorry, I got my dog Toby, he's coming in here. Toby, if you're going to come in, just come in. Just jump up on the couch. There you go. He's just over there, you see. He's just chilling. Don't worry about Toby. I don't want to knock over my mug. You can buy my mug on spring.com if you want, by the way. It's a cool mug. Professor Skye. So what I do want to talk about is about art. And in particular, just in the event that you don't understand the significance of the cover of this album, let me spend some time. I had two majors in college, art history and French. I think art history is one of the most important things you can study in college. If you go to college and you have an art history class available, that is number one elective. There's no other elective that is more important than taking art history. It will make your entire life better. Every museum you go to for the rest of your life will be 70% more interesting. Just one 3-credit art class, okay? So anyways, allow me to sort of take you through this image. So the image on the cover is The Deposition of Christ by Caravaggio from 1600, okay? So it's done by Caravaggio. And what I thought would be fun is to read you. Now this is my textbook from my art history class, okay? I'm going to read you a little bit about Caravaggio's life. And just so that you understand, like, Caravaggio was, and I'm going to sound like an old man, Caravaggio was the original gangster rapper. But listen to this. The unconventional life of this great painter was consistent with the defiant individualism of his art. We know almost as much about Caravaggio from police records as from other documents. Violent offenses and assaults reaching to murder trace his tragic antisocial career through restless, tormented wanderings, which nevertheless did not prevent him from producing a large number of astonishing works. His very association with lowlifes and outcasts may help to account for his unglorified and unfashionable view of the great themes of religion, as well as his indifference to the Renaissance ideals of beauty and decorum. In his art, he secularizes both religion and the classics, reducing them to human dramas that might be played out in the harsh and dingy settings of his time and place. He employs a cast of unflattering characters, selected from the fields and the streets. These, he was proud to declare, were his only teachers. To paint them gave him sufficient knowledge of nature. Okay? This guy was literally a murderer. Okay? And he developed this whole crazy style of art, which is seen quite often here in the kind of Italian Baroque, where everything appears to be like it's on a stage, and the people are lit and drawn with amazing foreshortening, depicted with amazing foreshortening and amazing lighting. And that's the style of painting that Caravaggio had. If you're ever in the city of Rome, you can just go all over Rome and see all sorts of Caravaggio paintings all over the place. When I was in Rome, that's all I did. I didn't eat pasta. I didn't go to the Colosseum. I didn't give a shit about the Colosseum. I went to every single Caravaggio I could find in that city. And that's this artist, okay? So having Caravaggio associated with rap music, especially associated with Westside Gunn, makes sense because he was a criminal. He talks about criminal and murder and all that, right? The life of the streets is all he needs to learn, okay? But that's just the first layer. That's just the first layer because really what this isn't a Caravaggio. This isn't. This is a Virgil Abloh. So on this painting are these little necklaces, right? Like what do they call them? Neck pieces, okay? So giant bling bling necklaces that hang off of the people's neck, all right? This is what he did for Westside Gunn on multiple occasions. He did it with the Mona Lisa, La Joconde, and he did it for this as well. But the importance of this actual specific Caravaggio is why I want the vinyl so bad, okay? The Deposition of Christ is not just important in the history, it's in the Vatican right now. So if you're in Rome, you go to the Vatican, there you go. Who cares about the Pope? We have the Deposition of Christ. And Caravaggio depicts the moment of Christ being taken down off the cross and the women attending to him, the Marys attending to him. And it's brutal and it's tactile and it's real and it feels like death and it feels like desolation. And when Virgil Abloh, the great designer, the creator of Off-White, before he created Off-White, created a different brand. That brand was called Pyrex Vision. And the most classical image of Pyrex Vision is this sweatshirt. Okay? This is from 2012, maybe 2013. You can tell me in the comments if you know any better. All right? So perhaps better than anybody except for Ye, or equal to Ye, or part of Ye, he brought high fashion and street fashion together. That's what Virgil Abloh did. Okay? The gatekeepers of Paris trembled before the genius of Virgil Abloh, and they had to change what they're doing, and they had to let him be the new gatekeeper. And on the back of this has Pyrex indicating discussing the crack epidemic, 23 indicating black excellence in Michael Jordan, and then an image of Caravaggio's deposition of Christ. All right? So it really is in honor of Virgil Abloh. This cover really is in honor of Virgil Abloh, and it really ties into his entire history of art. Less hate, more art. So I get what you're saying. IDK, who told him he could rap on trap beats? He can still do this. Okay? That's something that Fly God did. Segue into the first track. Okay, I'm going to give you a stamp, but it's not going to be the first track. Fly God did, produced by Mr. Green. Who was that in Reservoir Dogs? Who was Mr. Green? I think it was was that Madsen? I don't remember who it was. You can tell me in the comments who was Mr. Green in Reservoir Dogs. And it's, it starts off with I assume one of his kids talking, and then this very dusty low piano. And we have A.A. Rashid. Now it's cool because the album starts and ends with tracks where it's not Westside Gunn. He's not on here. And A.A. Rashid is basically one of two poets in the Griselda crew. I cannot compliment the Buffalo scene and the Griselda crew enough for the fact that they have two artists whose primary job is to do spoken word poetry. Okay, one male, one female. And this brings a whole other dimension to the art of rap music and hip-hop culture. And that's part of Westside Gunn's vision, okay? Now, it is weird because he starts off and he just says, here we are again. Hey, Rashid's like, all right, here we go. Griselda 24, let's kick up the Xbox and see how this sounds. But still, he gets deeper and deeper, and he talks about what is we, and we means yes in French. And it's sort of this interesting question because, it does seem that as time goes on, Westside Gunn becomes more individualistic and more about himself and less about the collective of Griselda. But, we implies a collective, but then we becomes the word for yes in French, and it becomes sort of a play on words. But it's strong, and it leads up to the song Mama's Primetime. So that's going to be my stamp of the album. Click above the banana, above the dope Hermes knockoff scarf to hear the song Mama's Primetime. What do you want? Hey, rap fans, hello, Bueller. What do you want? If you hear this song and you go, I don't know, man, this is not good. Then I'm not saying you don't like rap music, but you have to have some kind of cynical blinders on if you can't like this song. First of all, it's a great boom-bap beat by Beat Butcher. Really strong verses, really hard rapping. There's this whole yeah device that's used all the way throughout, especially on the first and third verses. And then to me, this is actually we, repeating we, yes in French. When he says yeah, I sort of get the sense there's another version of it. To me, it's connecting to Rashid in the previous song, mentioning we, yeah. And Westside Gunn's opening verse is great, and then Jid comes on. And Jid is just first of all, he doesn't miss, right? Every verse, I don't think he's ever done a bad verse, at least not that I've ever heard. And he's not in the Buffalo crew, and he's not in the underground crew. He's from some other southern world. And this whole, yeah, hell yeah, indeed. So he's connecting to this theme of yeah that Westside Gunn had said, and that Conway the Machine will say. Bitch, it's Gunn and Jid. A blind man can see the vibe is immaculate. I never gotta try, it's elaborate. I'm adamantly moved like a madman. To the cash, I'm a magnet. They bagging up the bullets in fragments. I'm smoking on pot for the cataracts. I put the red dot on a MAGA hat. So he's doing all these kinds of interesting multisyllabic rhymes that sort of work, and he'll overpronounce them and he'll stretch them out. That cracker pulled me over, looked like Bob Saget. Hey, not all crackers look like Bob Saget. Not all. We don't all look like Bob Saget. I guess we all look a little bit like Bob Saget. I'm overseas, out in Paris, pants all sagging. I bet they pay me the whole fee like Lamar Jackson. Just a great verse where he's playing with these rhymes. He's playing off of the other verses. And then Conway comes on. And if you know anything about this channel, Conway's one of my favorite rappers, but I have been kind of frustrated over the past couple of years. I have found his output to be very inconsistent, but this is him on an absolute high. You know, multi-million-dollar endorsements, yeah, yeah. Line of Porsches, different colors and assortments, yeah, yeah. X Street, but now I'm corporate, yeah, yeah. Walk that record label, they start applauding. F the contract, if I endorse, I need the biggest portion. Park the 4R next to the plane, the smoke one while I'm boarding. You know, just playing around with the yeah, yeah, and all this sound, and it sounds really cool, and there's this very just memorable beat. And then at the end, there's this tap dancing part, which, okay, obviously this is thanks to Kendrick Lamar and the Big Steppers and all the tap dancing that was on there. I mean, every time like the other day I was looking through TV and I saw someone tap dancing and I had Kodak Black talking in my head while this guy Eckhart, Toady, and Kodak Black. Anyways, but still, like, it matches so well with this beat. And it's like, what's going on here? Where's this beat from? Where's the tap dancing from? Did Beat Butcher find the tap dancer? Is this what the original sample is? What is all happening here? This is why I'm coming back to that same point I made in the beginning. What do you want? If this is not the rap stuff that you want, then do you really and that's cool. Like, if you want other rap, you can tell me what other rap you want. But if you like Griselda, how can you listen to this song and fold your arms and say this is not it? Like, I'm asking seriously. I'm not even making fun of you. I don't understand how you could possibly say that. That's not true for the rest of the album, because we get to a song like Costas, produced by Tay Keith. That guy, the trap guy, who makes this like weird kind of trap beat and horror sounds. Like, it's unsettling. And I understand why it's unsettling, because so much of the boom-bap Invisible Renaissance movement is thanks to a reaction to the trap beats, you know, sort of a New York sounding sound in an increasingly Atlanta world. So when we have Atlanta sounds with our underground rap gods, it is a disconcerting feeling. You get a feeling of loss, like, oh no, everyone's turning trap. Except it just doesn't work that way, you know? This is essentially a Griselda song, but produced by Tay Keith. And so, you know, why not? Right? Why not? I'm sure Derringer could have come on and made another great beat, and write Brick on My Brick, right? It would be great. But why not do something different? It's not my favorite. You know, I'd rather listen to Write Brick on My Brick than this. I'd rather listen to What Would Chin Gun Do? I'd rather listen to God Don't Make Mistakes or Hitler Wears Hermes 8, whatever. But, you know, like, mixing it up, trying new things. Why not? That's what stops it from just being Griselda 24. And then we get to this question. Can Westside Gunn rap over trap beats? The answer, after this break. Don't gamble. That's my. I'm sponsored by Not Gambling, so just don't gamble at all. Okay? You're just throwing away your money. There's a lot of forces in our society telling you that it's okay to gamble. Not even once. Okay? Just don't do it. Keep your money. Smash the like bucket. Subscribe. If you leave the letters AVAA, that stands for awesome video as always, and I will guarantee put a heart on your comment if you put that somewhere in there. Okay? So, can Westside Gunn rap over trap beats? Yes, he can. But he does it in a way where he sounds uncomfortable. I don't think he's uncomfortable, but we're so used to his kind of rapid fire, attacking, like, because he's sort of like a old video game, Dark Castle. It's this really hard game where you just fell over all the time. You have to throw rocks at bats. And it's not in my script, not in my notes, it's just my thoughts. And then you go, like that. You expect a kind of speed. But in order to match the trap beats, he's either not talented enough or he's choosing not to rap fast over the trap beats, which is what most people do. So it ends up that he just sounds old school, you know? Umbrella on froze. Like, there's a kind of old school goofiness to it, which I think is actually good. It's just unexpected. And I don't blame anybody for hearing it and saying, oh, this means he can't rap on trap beats. He can. It's just, it sounds weird. Conway is super strong yet, despite the fact he's rapping without anesthesia having worn off. And by the end, he kind of throws on a triplet flow, you know? And it's funny because on the previous song, the Mama song, with JID, like he basically slipped into an Eminem style attacking flow. Like he's really doing a lot of interesting stuff. I think if you like just study sort of like flows and bars and rhymes and stuff, Conway is really doing some interesting stuff here, especially at the end. Then we get to what apparently, according to Reddit, is the most controversial song, 1989. I think it's great. You know, he performed the entire Taylor Swift album in the middle of his own album. In his version of Shake It Off, impeccable. No, I mean, the 1989 is a great song. Like, it's really weird. It's weird. And we need to say that's good. And it's true. Miguel the Plug is the producer on this and like almost half the album. I looked him up online. I didn't find anything except for I looked him up on Facebook and it was like there was one post from 2009 and it was Dragon Balls, the guy from Dragon Ball. What's his name? Dragon Balls? Like the guy with the spiky hair. It was Dragon Balls, like holding onto like a sword. Naruto? What's his name? What's the name from Dragon Balls? Saiyan? Is his name Saiyan? Is that what a Super Saiyan is? Whatever it was. That was the only thing found for Miguel the Plug. So he's a mysterious guy. Who is he? But it's a really interesting and far out song. You know, we have DJ Drama's intro where you hear DJ Drama say his thing, and then we get a screwed verse, you know, so it's actually slowed down. And this is partly solving the problem of how do we have Westside Gunn on trap beats with the slowed down echoes and staggering, and the drums come in stronger halfway through, and then Stove God comes by. And Stove God is just awesome, you know, like I've been saying this for the last couple Westside Gunn projects. He comes in and sings the choruses that it would be too much if Westside were singing the whole time. Okay, so he always sings about the same stuff, about stoves and blocks and bricks and blocks and stoves. But it's a catchy chorus, and 36 ounces I turned up in public housing. Some cool backwards effects. It's a great song. Suicide and Self-Ridges, again featuring DJ Drama, this one produced by Conductor Williams. So, you know, I think there's a thing about this album, the order of the songs is not always perfect. I think that's part of the problem that people are having with this album. Part of the problem people are having. But here it's great because we're going like trap, boom-bap, trap, boom-bap. It's kind of alternating there. And again, just Conductor Williams deserves all the flowers he's getting and more. Don't listen to the drums. The drums are great. Listen to the guitar on this loop. It's insane. It's just insane. And I think this is Westside at his best. Ain't no one fresher. That's word to Muhammad. Brains everywhere on the wall. Go get some Comet. You know, the more I listen to it, the more I realize he just kind of has like an old school goofy flow, you know, cool beeps and like rhythmic weirdness at the end. And then we have a whole freestyle from Eastside Flip, who's the homeless guy who is sort of like the mascot of Griselda, if that makes sense. He's sort of like a gritty reminder of where they come from. Kitchen Lights is that next song, the only song the Reddit guy had liked, produced by DJ Benoit. Left side, it's got some piano, got strings all over, no drums to start. And here we have a little peek behind the personality. You know, he takes off his sunglasses for this song and tells us his Givenchy sunglasses and tells us a little bit about the traumatic upbringing he had. Hey yo, you ever have to watch your moms get beat, roaches crawling, crack pipe on the bathroom seat? You need to bank out the speakers, gold frame on the black Jesus, eating grilled government Jesus. And then goes on to talk about how he sold dope and then how the Bottega stuff he wore was worth $23,000 and Louis V, $50,000 for the shirt, all that stuff. But it starts off here with the government cheese and the bathroom seat. By the way, look up on YouTube the history of government cheese. It's pretty interesting. It had to do with keeping dairy prices high. So the government bought a certain amount of dairy, no matter what. Sidebar. This is interesting. During the Jimmy Carter administration, milk prices were going down. And the dairy lobby is like the mafia. Like, you just cannot mess with them. So the government promised to buy milk at a certain amount in order to make sure the dairy farmers didn't lose money. And so then the dairy farmers just started making more milk because they were getting guaranteed racks on racks, right? So now all of a sudden America had way too much milk that we were buying at really good prices. So Jimmy Carter turned that into cheese, and we basically had a strategic cheese reserve. And then when Reagan got to power, he just said, okay, and then gave that cheese away. And that's the story of government cheese. It's all about the lobby, the dairy lobby. Anyways, and then another great stove. What I like about this is a Secret Conversation with Kanye West. Okay? Any song that's about lights, we're thinking about all the lights and the lights and the lights and the lights of Kanye. Almost every album he had for the first, whatever, 5, 6 albums, there's at least one song called Lights. I'm exaggerating, but there's a lot of songs about lights. And here, instead of flashing lights or spotlights, it's the kitchen lights for where they're cooking up crack. And then there's a part where Stove God is intentionally rapping in the way of rapping in So Appalled. Right? So in So Appalled, it's, champagne wishes, 30 white bitches, 5-star dishes, different exotic fishes. Man, this shit is ridiculous. And then Stove God is tell them they can't mirror this. Everything I whip is like my wrist is way ahead of its time. So he goes on and kind of mirrors that, and I think it's nice. And it's not champagne wishes; it's Chanel dreams and yayo wishes. And still, no one is pronouncing Richard Mille properly. They keep calling him Richard Millie. I don't know why. Westside, if you're trying to teach people how to pronounce his name, do you pronounce it wrong? Next song is called Fly God 2X. Great boom-bap beat. This is by Dope Mike Beats. Cool little vibraphone. Nice verse here. You ever eaten Ruth's Chris in prison? I don't know. More baby voice. And then Tyler, the Creator, thanking Westside Gunn. Dun Hill. Another one produced by Miguel the Plug. More trap. Featuring Rick Ross. So we got Whispering Westside Gunn. These real epic horns. Really gross. The way that Westside Gunn talks about luxury is really kind of gross. Like, been pissing Dom all week. I'm a Don. It's just like pissing champagne. Like, it's just, yeah. And then Rick Ross comes on, and this is where I'm starting to think, maybe Rick Ross is providing the template for how to rap over trap beats for Westside Gunn. Because Rick Ross approaches the trap beats very slow and deliberate. Now, he doesn't have the nyam 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 voice. He has, the Rick Ross voice. But there's that deliberateness, Chanel boots, Lamborghini coupes. Lamborghini. Anyway, there's a whole thing on, I think it was Instagram, where someone was criticizing Westside Gunn, and he goes, "Oh, Mr. Boom-bap is not happy." And it makes sense. If you're Mr. Boom-bap, you're not happy. House of Glory, featuring Stove God Cooks, produced by RZA, starts off with this crazy Beethoven-ish sounding, descending orchestral score, and that settles into this cool, gentle strings. Stove God is singing to start. He's talking so much about stoves and stoves and stoves and stoves, but it's still interesting because a lot of what he talks about is when it goes wrong. He raps a lot about when you fail to properly cook crack, which, I guess that makes sense. That must be pretty annoying. If I ain't all good, I'm all good. And then there's and then it gets cut off. And I swear to God, what's happening? What's happening? There was a sample on the Drake album that was I Remember. There's a sample on the Earl Sweatshirt and Alchemist album that was I Remember. And there's a sample here that's and it gets cut off. And I think it was cut off on the other two as well. So I don't know. It's some beautiful, annoying Westside Gunn, nya nya nya, singing, saying how he is the culture, and talks about Long Live Virgil. It's great. JD Wrist, featuring Stove God Cooks and SD Knack. This is produced by Fly God Jr. Is that his son? Is that right? You can tell me in the comments. I thought I read that somewhere. Not a great song. It's okay. It's kind of weird, whiny sounds. I like Stove God on here, and SD Knack is great because he's whispering the whole time. He kind of matches the mood of the song. I do like the kind of bizarre synth. This is almost sort of ragey at times, And then we get Westside Pootie, his daughter, on here again. It does kind of bum me out, because you're not really preparing your child for success if you're getting them to brag about the wealth that you gave them. You know what I mean? But whatever. What do I know? But anyways, next song is called Disgusting, featuring Giggs, produced by Miguel the Club. And this is where I think this is the error in sequencing. Because it was trap to trap, back to back. And it's just, this does have a little extra kind of a drill bass in there, which I now realize is because Giggs is drilly UK guy. I do like the verse and the repetition of the verse by the repetition of the chorus by Westside Gunn, and Gigs is good as well. Next song is called Chloe, featuring Ty Dolla $ign. I could not make it through the first line. I just couldn't. Come here, bitch. I'ma eat your pussy. It just skip. I can tell where this is going. And it's produced by Daniel LaFleur, one of my favorite of these producers. Good beat, guitar, piano, grimy beat. But I am not going to listen to a Westside Gunn super explicit sex song. I'm just not going to do it. Then we get to LL Bool Gun, which I guess like the B thing, some kind of, is that a gang thing? Like you don't want to say C because it represents Crips or something? I don't know. I thought he was from Buffalo. I didn't think that stuff was in Buffalo. But believe it or not, I don't know that much about gang life. More trap beats, kind of simple synths, just repeats over and over again, LL Bool Gun. And this is kind of that Rage style, right? Just sort of like repeating a stupid thing over and over again. Babylon Biss, produced by J.R. Swift. Nice flanger on the drums, simple piano. This is that great boom-bap that was complained about. More kind of gross stuff about like nosebleeds and doing coke. And I had the same problem with Raekwon and Ghostface back in the day. Like, it doesn't bother me to hear rappers rapping about selling coke, but rapping about doing coke feels more irresponsible for some reason. I do like how he has a whole thing on here trying to remind us that he was the person who produced Pray for Haiti. And like, that's what I'm saying. That's how we're going back. That's how we're going back to talk to the Reddit guys. It's like, that was like 3 years ago. Like, that wasn't that, like this guy is just still putting out great stuff. And he's still the guy who did that. And yeah, this album is a little bit weird. But then it's got Keisha Plum, who's not credited. That's the other of the great poets. Nice bit to end here. Ultra Gazelda, featuring Denzel Curry, is by far the most disappointing track on this album, because Denzel Curry is great. Much like Jid, it's like a great southern rapper who's a little bit younger. And, Denzel's fine. He knows how to ride this trap beat, Bugs Bunny-ass N-word, hop off my dick, because I'm trying to make hits like John Flick, Stack Up, Put It On, My Firstborn, Jit. It's interesting because Jit itself is a term for sort of middle class. It's a pejorative term for middle class and upper middle class African Americans used by lower class and working class African Americans. So it's not a term that white people know about. Like, I don't think it's a problem for me to use that term because it's never a term that is directed from a white person to a black person. You tell me in the comments if there's a problem with it. I don't want to offend anybody. But it's interesting, kind of going back to that West Side Pootie thing. And going back, way back to the Wu-Tang, when they talk about, his seeds marry his seeds, marry my seeds. That's how we keep Wu-Tang money all up in the family. There's this real sense of generational wealth, and that the goal is to produce spoiled rich kids. You grow up with nothing, and then you get rich, and then you have spoiled rich kids. So, and Denzel just sounds like Ludacris on this song. Next track is Jalen Rose, featuring This Album Is Too Long. It is. It's too long. I'm just thinking about how many songs I had left here, but you're still with me. Great low-key beat, some strings and piano tinkling. Becomes a cool thing here. Happens a couple times on the album where when Westside Gunn comes in second, they beef up his verse. In this case, it's with some chords as opposed to tinkling piano. And then Boldy just, Boldy James delivers probably the second best verse on the album. I've yet to tell you who delivered the best verse, but it's just great. There's a weird thing here. Again, this is just a weird thing, West. Mr. Gunn, you're a great producer, and I don't take that away from you, but you can't have two songs that make very prominent reference to Dikembe Mutombo, two songs apart from each other on the album. So, on like two songs previously, on Babylon Biss, it was That's Before the Plug, Dikembe Mutombo'd Us, and then on this song, I Show You Why They Call Me Blocks, Mutombo Dikembe. It's like they're both interesting, because if you don't know, Dikembe Mutombo was a great basketball player who was famous for blocking people when they take a shot, and he waved his finger like that. Okay, that's who he is. And I think only Jordan is mentioned more often in rap music. Seriously, because it's a powerful image. But you can't have two Dikembe Mutombo references like this prominently, this close. Now, it's nice because they're used in different ways. On the one, it's like the plug was blocking them, and on this one it's like blocks is in someone who controls blocks as areas to sell crack, and that's Dikembe Mutombo, but still. Just Boldy's verse. I've been serving fire on the hell block since I was knee high to a water bug. Just a great line. And it goes straight into Westside Gunn's verse. This is that thing again where if you're Mr. Boom-bap, hey man, you can just hit that button that's got the 2 arrows to just skip ahead. Because there is a great boom-bap EP hidden in this much larger, much more diverse selection of songs. Flying in the biddy and the helibopter. I know. Helibopter is some kind of gang thing. I don't care. It's the funniest thing I've ever heard. Steve and Johnny, produced by Tay Keith again, featuring ESTG. STG? How do we pronounce his name? Could I sound older? ESTG. Ominous trap beats. Starts off with the chorus. And more of this kind of great wordplay. I don't know what these things mean. So maybe me saying it is problematic. I don't know. You ain't never lived like me. Split cheese with your bunkie. Tasteless ends. CC's all on me. And still look bummy. All this BB on me oversized. I'm looking husky. Chopping bricks like Cobra Kai. MS plate. Looking dusty. Split cheese with your bunkie. I don't know what that means. It's a friend of mine, Mark's birthday. We used to love wordplay like this. Little terms like this. Split cheese with your bunkie. Incomprehensible. ESTG is nice. I like his like low, kind of sleepy flow. I'm the Wizard of OZs. Geeski laid a brick road out Kentucky, led me to the deep, pull off from 3 like Rodney Stuckey. Just very obscure. Mr. Everything, produced by Forever Rollin', Noe Paris, and Juco, featuring DJ Swamp Izzo and Jeezy. Like, what is it? Just there's even that like sound, the wee sound, like the just too much, a little too much going on here. I do like this. I do like the Westside Gunn's verse here and his style over this beat. Bullets hot like sriracha, 40 with the beam, switch on the strings, and the lobsters box logo preem, and Jeezy's fine. Freddie J's. He's got DJ Holiday, not DJ Drama. Lots of sort of DJ energy going on this album as well. He makes reference, I'm in Eastside, Freddie J with the Pen, which is a restaurant in Buffalo. I seen him on Chippewa. Shit hit the fan. Sped off in the land with the big land. So, got nice Buffalo references here. PZ's on here as well. Very strong verse. I don't know PZ very well. My crib's so mother effing big. If I take a wrong turn, I get lost upstairs. The Revenge of Flip's Leg, ladies and gentlemen, produced by Conductor Williams, and we have the best verse on the album. Who else? Who else could it be but Rome Streets? Just, dear God, I love this man's rapping style. Cool, bizarre, aggravating loop. Conductor Williams is really good on this album. I mean, he's always good always, but he's particularly good these couple of songs. Eventually, there's some bass on Westside Gunn's verse. It does that thing, a weird bell sound that gets cut off, and just roam streets, allergic to broke, my only focus is folding loot, got my funds doing fraud, had boulders for your noses too, bows from Oakland, effing hoes in front of ocean views, they want the likes more than the loot, living life confused. Just great. And there's a weird warbled gospel, Kanye-ish, gospel-y moment, and then it goes back into this great beat by Conductor Williams with a great verse by Westside Gunn, which will be his final verse, because we then get to And Then You Pray For Me. And I'm not even going to talk about the fact that I'm still annoyed by the Pray For Paris album title, because Pray For Paris was used after the terrorist attacks, where like a lot of people were murdered. Like Praying for Paris like had a meaning, and like he turned it into like an aspirational thing, like pray to reach Paris Fashion Week. But still, as a French teacher, anything that praises Paris is great. And Pray for Paris also had another great Caravaggio cover. I believe that was David with the head of Goliath, right? That's going from memory. Anyways. And this features Skye. Keep my spirit alive. Don't cut my feature out for no good reason and replace it with Kanye singing it much weaker. I really enjoy Skye. I reviewed his album last year. Nobody watched that review. Nobody watched that review. But I like Skye. I think he could be one of the future stars of rap music. Great 70s soul soundscape, flange stuff, and Skye just sings really well and raps really well, all in this theme of And Then You Pray For Me. So there you go. There's my review. there's my review. You know, there's my review of Westside Gunn. How are you supposed to wear a fake Hermes scarf? You know, supposed to do like that. Just like Tupac style. I'm not gonna keep doing this joke. I'm just watching it going, watching it go south like Canada geese. Okay, so there's my review. I hope you enjoyed it. Tell me, do you agree? Do you see what I'm saying? That this actually is a good album, or are you agreeing with Ether93 over on Reddit that it's just trash? I think both points. I think if we're talking about art, I think it's healthy that we have both opinions. I want to keep this dialogue going, keep my spirit alive. All right, well, for Toby and for everybody else, there's the camera.